All right, did the Trump administration just kill a 60 Minutes episode that was set to air tonight and expose their most heinous abuse of human rights? Well, it seems that way. We learned just hours ago that CBS deleted a 60 Minutes promo and canceled an episode that was set to air tonight. This episode went in depth into CCOT, a torturous mega prison in El Salvador where Donald Trump and his administration sent a plethora of immigrants. An important statistic to know is that 75% of the people that were sent to this torturous mega prison had no criminal record. He was not deporting the worst of the worst, people who had committed crimes. No. They were stereotyping people based off of tattoos and then saying they were going to send them to Venezuela, then instead sending them to a torturous mega prison in El Salvador that is known for brutal rape, torture, and never leaving. Once you enter, you're never allowed to leave, meaning it is essentially a death sentence. Now, there are exceptions, like Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, who was sent to CCOT, and then we found out he had zero due process, like legitimately none. They didn't realize that he had a withholding order of removal and wasn't supposed to be deported to that country. So they had to bring Kilmar back to the United States, and now he is a free man. They've tried to arrest him a few more times and failed. It is a sick, twisted game that they're playing. They think it's a game, but these are real human lives. So let's break this all down, starting from the beginning. 60 Minutes posted at about 4:30 p.m. Editor's note. The broadcast lineup for tonight's edition of 60 Minutes has been updated. Our report, quote, Inside CCOT, will air in a future broadcast. This may be one of the biggest scandals in broadcast history. The Trump administration has sued 60 Minutes for their Kamala Harris interview, extracted $16 million from them, and this has created an environment where 60 Minutes is now too scared to air episodes that were checked by lawyers, that will expose human rights abuses, and we can actually link this all back to Bari Weiss stepping into her role at CBS and turning it into a more pro-Trump slant. Yashar Ali points out, hours before 60 Minutes was set to air a story on deportees who were sent by the Trump administration to a prison in El Salvador describing, quote, brutal and torturous conditions, 60 Minutes announced that it has pulled the segment and will air it in the future. 5.9 million views the 60 Minutes announcement has gotten. When the 60 Minutes Twitter account announced this, they got 5.9 million views and only 1,000 likes. That means the public is rapidly becoming aware that this administration is using authoritarianism, using the suppression of free speech and free media to consolidate power. So we don't know, for example, what the current economic numbers are. They're stopping economic data. We don't know what the Epstein files say. They're trying to redact the Epstein files. Or we don't know what's happening inside CCOT, as this segment was named. It was named, quote, Inside CCOT. We then learned from Dylan Byers, CBS News spokesperson tells me the 60 Minutes report on Inside CCOT will air in a future broadcast. Quote, we determined it needed additional reporting. But, as Michael reports, 60 Minutes correspondent Sharon Alfonsi tells colleagues that CBS's decision to pull her segment, it was her segment that was going to air tonight. And Sharon says, quote, it is not an editorial decision, it is a political one. This is huge. The actual correspondent who crafted the segment and who we learned had the segment, quote, fully ready, meticulously fact-checked, and lawyered. She had all of that. She's saying that this was a political decision. The admin declined to comment, but Bari Weiss saw a segment on Friday and decided to hold it. She saw the segment that I'm about to play this promo from, and she decided to hold it. Really quickly, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the Adam Mockler feed. We are going to continue to relentlessly press into the Trump administration as they hide more and more from the American people. But I want to play you the full segment along with reading the entire note from the correspondent Sharon Alfonsi. So she wrote, News team, thank you for the notes and texts. I apologize for not reaching out earlier. I learned on Saturday that Bari Weiss spiked our story Inside CCOT, which was supposed to air tonight. We, Ori and I, asked for a call to discuss her decision. She did not afford us that courtesy/opportunity. Wow, what a great editor-in-chief. Our story was screened 5 times and cleared by both CBS attorneys and Standards and Practices. It is factually correct. In my view, pulling it now, after every rigorous internal check has been met, is not an editorial decision, it is a political one. We requested responses to questions and/or interviews with DHS, the White House, and the State Department. Government silence is a statement, not a veto. Their refusal to be interviewed is a tactical maneuver designed to kill the story. If the administration's refusal to participate becomes a valid reason to spike a story, we have effectively handed them a kill switch for any reporting they find inconvenient. They just don't have to feed the story, therefore they can claim it's so delegitimized, it's so uncredible, they didn't even feed into it. Then they can only feed into stories they actually want to air. If the standard for airing a story becomes, quote, the government must agree to be interviewed, then the government effectively gains control over the 60 Minutes broadcast. We go from an investigative powerhouse to a stenographer for the state. These men risk their lives to speak with us. We have a moral and professional obligation to the sources who entrusted us with their stories. Abandoning them now is a betrayal of the most basic tenet of journalism, giving voice to the voiceless. CBS spiked the Jeffrey Wigand interview due to legal concerns, nearly destroying the credibility of this broadcast. Jeffrey Wigand, of course, exposed the entire tobacco industry. It took years to recover from that low point, Sharon writes. By pulling the story to shield an administration, we are repeating that history. Let's watch this promo, and then I think you'll see why the Trump admin was trying to hide this. I think you'll see why Barry Weiss pulled this despite it being meticulously fact-checked and lawyered. You'll see the optics that are coming out of this. Take a listen.
The deportees thought they were headed from the U.S. back to Venezuela. But instead, they were shackled, paraded in front of cameras, and delivered to CCOT, the notorious maximum security prison in El Salvador.
Again, this prison is notorious. There's a quote around it. Once you enter, you don't leave. Alive, that is. It is very, very crucial to point out a few things. Not only the fact that 75% of the people that were sent to CCOT didn't have a criminal record, but also, quote, the deportees thought that they were headed from the U.S. back to Venezuela, but instead they were shackled, paraded in front of cameras, and delivered to CCOT, the notorious maximum security prison in El Salvador, where they told 60 Minutes they endured 4 months of hell. Quote, did you think you were going to die there? She asked a deportee. We thought we were already the living dead. In March, 238 men were deported to CCOT after the Trump admin accused them of ties to a Venezuelan gang. Quote, we're getting them out. The president and I are helping us with that. President Bukele, Trump told Fox News. A 60 Minutes investigation found, however, that 75% of the 238 men had no criminal record. 22% did have a criminal history, mostly for nonviolent offenses like theft, shoplifting, and trespassing, and 3% had unclear records. Among the deported men was Maryland dad Kilmar Abrego Garcia, whose case stirred uproar. This is Donald Trump talking about the CBS owners, the new CBS owners. Take a listen to this. He said he loves them. He loves the new owners of CBS, and right here, you see the game that's being played. I will be on CNN tomorrow night on Abby Phillips' show. It will be at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, so be there tomorrow night on Monday. And Donald Trump has been relentlessly attacking CNN lately in a similar way that he attacks 60 Minutes, and CBS by extension, in a similar way that he attacks the New York Times, the Washington Post, all of these different news outlets, because he would rather have a stooge in power just glazing him, just saying that he's the best president. Take a listen to him here.
They don't scream, but NBC's really bad. And CBS, I mean, I love the new owners of CBS. Something happens to them, though. 60 Minutes has treated me worse under the new ownership than... They just keep treating me. They just keep hitting me. It's crazy.
Remember, this man sued 60 Minutes and CBS for nothing as he was entering office because he knew he could leverage his position of power, leverage the executive branch to extract money from them, and they did. They settled for $16 million, and now that sets the precedent that, hey, if you piss off the president, like we see in this speech right here, he's saying, hey, they shouldn't be so mean to me. If you piss off the president, it will cost you money. The Ellisons are now engaged in a high-stakes bidding war against Netflix for control of Warner Bros. Discovery. As I was saying earlier, they are trying to recreate this model broadly and take over the media. The thing is, everything we've talked about in this video has one clear through line, whether it's the deportations, whether it's the cover-up of the deportations, whether it's the targeting of free speech in the form of attacking the media. All of these things have a through line, and it's that they are desperate expressions of authoritarianism meant to try to consolidate power. Trump knows that he betrayed the American people, stabbed them in the back. We can talk about immigration. Immigration, for example. Nobody is going to argue that if somebody has committed repeated crimes that are violent and they're here illegally, nobody's going to argue against deporting that person. I will be the first to say that if somebody has committed a violent crime and they're here, yeah, of course, get them out. That's not what the Trump administration is doing. They have reprioritized the money meant for those deportations over to the deportations of farm workers, people who are here working for a better life. Even farmers in Iowa called Trump and said, dude, you got to stop deporting our workers. They're making the country better. They're making us more productive and efficient. So Donald Trump got into office and took the most extreme interior enforcement position. And now he's forced to cover up the 60 Minutes interview that exposes him. We will continue to cover this every single day. Double check to make sure you subscribe below. I love you all. Peace out.